Interview in Pakistan Sign Language.
Hello, how are you? I'm very happy to see you in this live. I'm welcoming you to this live. My name is Amir and my face sign is this, and this is Alia. Welcome to our live for this interview, Haaris.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I am locking the comments right now so we can see each other clearly.
Perfect.
Today's topic is CEO of Interesource Group of Ireland and adjunct assistant professor and doctorate candidate at Trinity College, Dublin. So, Haaris, let us know your name and a bit of introduction of yourself.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Ahmed, for inviting me to this discussion. We've had online discussion for so many months and a few years, so it's lovely to finally be in discussion with you. So a few times the screen is freezing. So if I'm frozen, just let me know and I can stop and go back a bit because I know the internet connection might be problematic.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. So my name is Haaris Sheikh. So it's a Pakistani name. I was born in London myself in 1971, which makes me 50 years young. Both of my parents are hearing, and my father was born in Sialkot and lived in Karachi, and my mother was born in Lahore, and she also lived in Karachi until both my mother and father got married in 1968. So my background is Pakistani. I identify as British-born Pakistani living in Ireland. So I haven't lost my cultural or language heritage. I speak Urdu at home, which I'm proud to do. And hopefully I can maintain that language with whoever I meet from Pakistan, and maybe I'll be able to acquire some Pakistani Sign Language to complement my Irish Sign Language as well.
That's great. Interesting. So I am, what's your face sign?
So my face sign is H. So in Irish Sign Language, this is the letter H. So I was given my sign name by a deaf friend of mine. So they normally use H, which is the same as H in Pakistan Sign Language or American Sign Language.
Okay. So H letter. That's wonderful.
So we'd spell it as HAARIS. So other letters are similar.
That's great. So do you know whole Ireland Sign Language or a bit of their sign language?
I can communicate in sign language. I learned directly from my interaction with the deaf community. I went to a few classes, and because I work in Trinity College as well, which I can talk to you about later on, all of my colleagues in Trinity College are signers. So we have a bilingual center, and we encourage signing more than speaking, unless we have to, work only with hearing people through interpreters. So I'm always being told about signing properly and making sure that I respect the deaf culture and the sign languages.
Yes. So wonderful to hear that. So Introduction. Introduction related to Interesource group. Okay, so let us know about something like a bit of introduction related to it.
Sure. So the company, we call it IGI for short. I set up myself in 1996 as a consulting company. So we have a small number of staff and directors. And we do business consulting, we do education and training, we do a lot of video work, and we do a lot of training and design and media as well. About 4 areas. Small company, we keep it small and we keep it normal. We don't wear suits and ties and things like that.
Wonderful. So I called you for the interview so the deaf community can know about you, that what are you working about, and they can be more open-minded by this. And in Pakistan, it is also same. So I'm very happy to hear it. So you told us about there are 4 things. So can you describe them a little bit?
Yes. So my background, my education background is business studies and looking at human resource management. So managing staff in companies. And I did my business studies degree, and then I followed on with a master's in business studies as well. And now I'm doing a doctoral study, a PhD in Trinity College. And the study is looking at the experiences of deaf people in employment settings. So what I'm really trying to do is find out how deaf people, what concerns they have in work, how they find work, and when they are in work, what kind of obstacles and barriers they encounter, and why they might think that they have progression limitations in employment. So I've combined my background of HR and deaf studies together to find what kind of a theory I can develop to help deaf people in employment, but also help employers understand deaf culture and sign languages. So I brought everything together over my last 20 years of research and work into this field that I'm studying.
Interesting. So you told us that you are working for like business and education. So are you working for like something sports and for license? Are you doing anything for that? Are you helping in this regards?
Not in sports, but specifically relating to the deaf community, my work with the deaf community, we have over the last 15, 20 years, we've worked in projects. So the projects all work from a research perspective. So we do our research with expert partners, but we involve deaf people and deaf communities from the start. So we are very much led by the agenda of the deaf community. So we don't, as a hearing person myself, I don't set the agenda. I engage with the deaf community and find out what are their main priorities. So our first project we looked at was increasing the awareness of deaf culture and sign languages. So just generally talking about the history of deaf culture, looking at the Milan Congress, looking at oralism, the development of sign languages in Ireland and internationally, just to have a foundation of the cultural and linguistic aspects of the deaf community, to make hearing people more aware. We then moved on to looking at interpreting and how interpreters qualify, what are the issues that they encounter in fields like education, in healthcare settings, in legal settings. And now what we're doing is we're working on a new project, and it's looking at domestic and violence amongst women within the deaf community in 3 or 4 countries, which is a very large and important topic. So what we try to do, go ahead, go on, Ahmed.
Okay. So and previously in Ireland, are you connected with just Ireland, or internationally you are working, or you are working in just Ireland only? Yes.
All of our projects are international projects. So what we do, we involve universities, for example, who have expertise in interpreting deaf studies, for example, training sign language interpreters. We work very closely with the European Union of the Deaf. It's a great organization because members from each of the European countries is a member of the European Union of the Deaf. And the European Union of the Deaf, a bit like the Pakistani Association of the Deaf, is linked to the World Federation of the Deaf. So we've had good engagement with Lisa Kaupinen, Markku Jokinen, Colin Allen, we've worked with to make sure that what we do fits into the bigger picture and the agenda of the World Federation and the European Federation. So we always work internationally.
Okay, wonderful. So whatever you said right now is written there. So each and everything you told, everyone can see there. And Trinity College, Dublin, TCD, in short, TCD. So can you tell something about Trinity College, Dublin? Anything about it?
Of course. So Trinity is the oldest university in Ireland, about 472 years old, I think. It is very traditional, and it's located in the very center of Dublin city centre. It's an old building. It has one of the most beautiful libraries in the world as a tourist attraction. So all of the dignitaries who come to Ireland to visit.
Is it for deaf or for hearing people?
So the full college is a hearing college. However, the school where I work has a center called the Center for Deaf Studies, and that is 21 years old. And it specifically runs a bachelor's degree, which is a 4-year degree program. And that is for training sign language interpreters, to also train sign language teachers in school, and also to acquire specialism in just deaf studies. Well, so we have 3 specific strands within the 4-year degree program. Our staff are all bilingual. There are more deaf people than there are hearing staff. And they all have senior positions within the center.
That's wonderful. So you told that TCD, there is like, it's a whole hearing college, and it's very old. It's a very old college, traditional college. So there is a bachelor's program for there, but is there BS, and what is adjunct? Can you, is there any other program also, or just a bachelor's program? BA.
So I'll just discuss the programs that we have in our center. So we have a bachelor's program for 4 years. You can also
Can you repeat?
Yes, we can. There's a bachelor's degree program, which is a bachelor in deaf studies, which is a 4-year program. Students can then progress to a master's degree by research or through a teaching program. And of course, like myself, you can then progress to a PhD. And we have a lot more deaf people who have done the master's program and also are undertaking PhDs as well. My supervisor, who is the head of the Center for Deaf Studies, is a deaf academic, and he's the first deaf person in Ireland who got his PhD.
So all the hearing persons, are the syllabus different for hearing and deaf persons, or it is same, like everything is same for them, or there is a difference in the syllabus? For hearing persons the syllabus is very lengthy, and for deaf is like okay?
It is the exact same. So we don't make a difference between deaf and hearing.
That is great. Oh my God, yeah. That's wonderful.
In fact, what is really important to share as well is that because our staff, our deaf staff, they're teaching through Irish Sign Language. So the difficulty is normally with the hearing students who find acquiring Irish Sign Language as a really big problem. So what we try to do is, rather than change the status or the level, we try to make sure that we have access for hearing and deaf staff and students through sign language interpreters. So everything that happens in Trinity College, even if it's not within our school, it's a different school like engineering or science, there is sign language interpreting for that.
Wonderful. That is awesome. Sign language interpreters profession in Ireland. Can you tell me about professional sign language interpreters? Something about that.
Absolutely. Delighted to share this. So we're very proud in Ireland to have, I suppose, over the last 15 years, about 96 approximately sign language interpreters who have trained professionally. So now all of the interpreters have to do the 4-year degree program. Before that, they had a 2-year program where they had a diploma in deaf studies. But now it is a regulation that if you want to practice as a sign language interpreter, you must have a qualification. And then you must be registered with the national registry body with your qualifications. So it's now illegal for anyone to practice as a sign language interpreter unless they have a qualification. And that's very important for us to make sure the standard of interpreting is not only correct, but it represents deaf people accurately and the way it should to provide proper access.
Yes. So that is so wonderful that there is a qualification so they can communicate with the deaf easily.
So Professor, yeah?
So Professor is she a professional sign language interpreter?
She is. She was one of the first to train as a sign language interpreter in Dublin, along with one of our other professors, Pat Matthews, who's not in the picture, because these pictures are only about one of our projects. So there's another member of staff, Pat Matthews. So they're the first to set up the degree program. But you see the picture next to Lorraine Leeson is Dr. John Bosco Conema, and he's currently the director of the Centre for Deaf Studies.
Oh, so everything is like they're differently working.
I suppose we have a really interesting policy now, even in the college and right throughout Ireland, that deaf people are at the centre of any developments that deal with deaf people. So rather than having a board of hearing people making decisions for the deaf community, our policy and philosophy is deaf people have to be at the start of every process and included right from the start of the agenda and not afterwards.
Great. So I understood whatever you said. So internationally, if any in TCD, any deaf person wants to join it, like from India, Afghanistan, or internationally, so they can join it, or?
Absolutely. I mean, in Europe, firstly, anyone from the European Union can apply to be a student in Trinity College Dublin. So they have to maintain standards, so they have to pass their exams and they can enter the college as any student does. There are other programs within Europe which are called Erasmus, and the European Union has small funding for students from different European countries to maybe take one semester in a different college. So it's possible we have a deaf person from Finland or France or Spain who come to Dublin for 2 or 3 months to study. So it's always open. The issue of interpreting is always an issue that many deaf people will adapt very easily when they come to Ireland because we have a bilingual centre. So they might use international sign, they might attend some Irish Sign Language classes, and that has happened before, and it's never been an issue. And it really is the same for everything. Once you have access, you don't have to ask why someone needs access or why they need an interpreter. The interpreters are always provided. And we make sure that in lectures there are 2 interpreters, so not one interpreter is carrying all of the stress of an assignment. So the centre has been really good in making sure that the college provide proper access in everything.
Wonderful. Connection. So in Pakistan, deaf people are very interested in learning more studies. Like they want to go in foreign countries to learn, to study more, basically, in United States and in other countries. So if I and you get connected, so and if anyone wants to learn in TCD, so would you accept that?
Well, Trinity College, like any college here, has criteria. So you have to apply for a program. The fees are the biggest problem for non-EU students, because anyone who's not from the EU, the fees are very high. So normally we find in countries where cost of living is much lower, coming to Dublin, Ireland can be an obstacle. And we've had that often. But at the same time, in Ireland, we have very many Pakistani doctors, for example. They come to the Royal College of Surgeons, they come to Trinity College Dublin, and the fees in medicine are much higher. So it's absolutely possible that someone from Pakistan, if they're intelligent and they've got their exams and they have the criteria, that they can come to Ireland and enroll in any program. And if it's a deaf person, it doesn't have to be deaf studies. They can go into engineering, they can go into medicine, they can go into nursing, they can go into business studies. So it doesn't make a difference. The most important is they will have interpreting.
So whatever you told, like about the criteria, and everyone from Pakistan, internationally, everyone who's seeing this, please understand this, that there is a criteria for everything to apply.
Yeah. And it's the same criteria for me. So when I have to apply for my PhD program, I have to have the same criteria. There's no difference for me as a hearing resident in Ireland or a deaf person in Pakistan. You have to have your exams, you have to have the criteria and the determination to actually do the course, but it's absolutely possible.
Okay, so that's perfect. Haaris, you. Can you support deaf people in Pakistan, and how, if you want to support, so how will you support the deaf in Pakistan?
I think this is actually a very easy question, because the work we've done so far has been based on research. So rather than opinion-based, we have done our research in many countries. What we found are very many similarities within deaf communities in, for example, in the UK, in Belgium, in Germany. So deaf cultural experiences have very many similarities. And some of the main areas that we've looked at are employment, education, healthcare, and legal settings. They've been the 4 main areas that we've looked at. And in each one, what we found is there needs to be an awareness of the language. There needs to be an appreciation of the culture of deaf people. And we have to transfer this information to the hearing service providers because simply they do not know. So rather than saying, for example, the police force don't understand, we have formed allies with our National Police Service, and we are training the police service to understand why it's so important to have an interpreter and how you work with an interpreter who has to be qualified. So rather than having a fight about access, we try to form a partnership. And we work with the police service, for example, so they understand how we can work together. So what we have done is we've produced guidelines, we've produced posters, and this is the kind of information which is widely available from any of our work that we can share with Pakistan. Because understanding that Pakistan Sign Language and its dialects is not universal. Understanding that international sign is not a language in itself. Understanding that deaf culture is different to hearing culture. Understanding how you communicate with a deaf person and issues about literacy. They're very common themes in each of our work, in each of the pieces of our work that we've done. And it's very easy for us to send you the material and the resources, and you can share them, you can translate them, so at least you don't have to do that work again. We've also written many reports and published a lot of work from our research, and that normally helps because authorities always want to find out, who said this, what are the facts? And our report and our work really supports and gives facts about what's happening on the ground with the deaf community and with interpreters as well. So we always think, before we develop any training resources, let's find out from our research what we have to actually do and what we have to develop.
Okay, so whatever you said that you can send us the material and then we can implement it. So inshallah, I'll do inshallah. Your work as adjunct assistant professor and doctoral candidate in Trinity College, Dublin. So, professor, and you are doing PhD. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So I've worked with the Center for Deaf Studies for about 10 years. And we always include the Center for Deaf Studies in our projects because they have the expertise. They know about interpreting, they know about the language, they know about the culture, and everything to do with policy in Ireland has the involvement of our deaf staff. So it was the right place for me to do a doctoral thesis.
Okay. Can we continue?
Yes. So the project that you were looking at, the Designs project, looks at employment. And as I said earlier on, because my background was HR, my thesis is looking at the experiences of deaf people in employment. So I've interviewed a number of deaf people, and what I'm trying to establish is how deaf people access employment. What are the obstacles when they're looking for employment? And when they get a job and they have a job, what are their views about progressing within employment? Because often we have found that deaf people get into certain jobs and they find the progression much more difficult. So I'm trying to find out what are the concerns of the deaf community once they're in employment and how they feel and what they feel are the problems when they actually want to look at progressing within employment. So next year, I'm hopefully, inshallah, I will have my PhD finished in 2022.
Oh, that's wonderful. Inshallah, inshallah. You'll get it, and all the Pakistani people Please pray for him that he get his PhD degree in 2022. Everyone
Thank you
is
very much.
giving hearts and lots of love. So in Ireland, deaf community are getting are getting progress in license or in sports or in studies or jobs in different criteria. So can you tell us about something that related to Ireland only?
Um, I suppose firstly, just to contextualize, in Ireland we have a figure of about 5,500 deaf people in Ireland, okay, which is pretty small. We have around 60,000 users of Irish Sign Language. So we're looking at a very small community when we compare it with Pakistan or the UK or Germany or America. So our numbers are very small. With respect to sports, Deaf Sports Ireland is an organization that was set up back in 1968, and it's one of the longest running organizations in the Irish deaf community. And they're the governing body with all things relating to deaf sports. But the great news is, for a small country, they won many European and world championships in the Deaf Olympics, in bowling, in football, in golf, and swimming, and water polo. They came back home with 59 gold medals and I think 58 silver medals and bronze medals. So for a small country, we're doing very well. And I suppose it's really important as well to mention, I have to mention my own supervisor, who is Dr. John Bosco Conema, because he was a chairperson of a committee that was responsible for trying to introduce legislation in Ireland to change the law to make Irish Sign Language an official language of the country. And in 2017, the national deaf community here, everyone who's involved with the deaf community, hearing and deaf, we went to our parliament and we got support, and eventually sign language became a recognized language in Ireland. And by having that allows now access for the deaf community. So today in Trinity College, the president of France was visiting, and on TV Live we had a sign language interpreter. 5 years ago we wouldn't have had that. So it's, for us, about education, it's small steps, slowly, which start building a really big foundation. And I think for any country looking to learn, or any community, you have to take the small steps first. And if we all take the small steps, we get along much further. And that's what's happened in Ireland.
That's wonderful. So I have picked one sentence from your wordings, like there is a chairperson who is deaf. So okay, so he's saying that like in Ireland, everyone is helping each other and growing together. So have you ever thought, like, if you come in Pakistan, and will everyone encourage, like, in growing together? What do you think? What are your opinions about that?
I suppose I can only speak for myself and my experience. I can't speak on behalf of any of my deaf colleagues who will have different experiences. But I know for certain, I didn't have any deaf family, so I came into the world of the deaf community as an outsider. And Another great academic, Dr. Noel O'Connell, he told me when I met him the first time, he said, when you're on the outside and you're looking in, it's very different to when you are inside looking out. Okay? And that's important. I think respecting people's opinions, whether you agree or disagree, is not important. But it's respecting that opinion and having the opportunity to have a conversation. And I think that's helped me work alongside, I won't say work in the deaf community, work alongside the deaf community, where I have understood that I will never do anything that excludes the deaf community. I'm only one part of the jigsaw puzzle. I'm not the picture. And working alongside people who have so much more experience has allowed me to learn and share my experience. And that's the way I think we have to move forward.
So whatever you said was correct.
Thank you.
In Ireland, who is responsible for making sign language or developing sign language? Is that a hearing person or a deaf person?
Always deaf. Always deaf. Yeah, always has been.
And who is that? Do you know? Is there anyone in TCD or in any other organization?
You know, I could be wrong, but the way I see it, there's no one person who's responsible for developing the sign language part. What we have seen is groups of people come together for very specific purposes. And something really interesting as part of our current project, which is Justice Science 2, that deals with gender-based violence. For the first time in Ireland, 24 deaf people attended a course in Trinity College, and they were being trained as deaf interpreters, because traditionally we've only had 2 or 3 qualified deaf interpreters. And we know in settings such as in healthcare, in legal, or when there's a child involved, it's always great to have a deaf interpreter as another mediator between a hearing interpreter and, say, the deaf child. So what we did, we set up an official course that was run by another professor, Teresa Lynch, and Professor Lorraine Leeson, and they were training deaf interpreters to understand how the work of interpreters is, to give them more of a qualification. But what was interesting is when we were discussing vocabulary and terminology in a new area, we didn't have words. We didn't have Irish Sign Language signs for the English variant of what we were discussing. So the group went away and decided together, how do we create a sign for something very technical? So for example, the word control, we would have this as a control sign, but in the context of domestic violence, it might be something different. And that was absolutely vital, that the terminology is coming from a deaf community, and they're deciding how their language, and I say their language because that's what it is. We have to respect the language of any culture. In the same way, I have to respect Urdu, I have to respect French in France, but Irish Sign Language has to be respected by the hearing population. I think that was really important. So to see language growing was beautiful, because it was necessary, but it was a demonstration of how language does evolve by the users of that language.
So you are absolutely correct. In Pakistan here, it is also the same way, that there are some people of groups not everyone is doing it togetherly. We are trying that everyone comes on a one path, but in schools there should be one sign language. So we are trying to do it. We are praying that it happens sooner, and that the groups they exist in Pakistan gets emerged as soon as possible.
And could could I ask you? I mean, maybe this is a difference of opinion. We would think in Pakistan, when it comes to spoken languages, there are so many different dialects. You know, when you have Punjab. We would always think that there's no right and wrong when it comes to different variations of a sign language. So it's not something in Ireland that we would be trying to do is to unify a language in any way.
Can you repeat your question?
I was just saying, just in the same way, there's so many different spoken languages, say in Pakistan, be it Punjabi, be it Urdu, or different dialects. Um, in Irish Sign Language, there are variants of the language as well, which gender variances, for example. Um, I know amongst hearing people, they often say, wouldn't it be wonderful if there was only one sign language so everyone can communicate? Um, I certainly wouldn't be of that opinion, and I would think that many deaf people would share that with me, that there should be a variation. You know, we have to respect every cultural difference there is. If there's a minority sign language, it must be respected as well, because it's so linked to individual cultures. So I don't know about unification of any languages. I don't think that would be a priority, certainly in Ireland or Europe.
So yes, thank you for letting this know. This is a deaf person and this is a hearing person, and the gap between them about culture, some differences. So, what do you think about that
Yeah.
in Ireland?
You know, again, from my experience, I suppose traditionally, it's certainly in deaf culture as well as I see, there was a view from hearing society that deaf people are seen as a group with a disability. And that is slowly beginning to change. And one of the reasons I think that's changing is as we have seen greater access, and the access has been on the provision of interpreters for access to language, which gives access to information, which gives access to services, which gives access to rights. The focus is more on the language than on how we frame deafness as a medical model. And I think that's helped because people see a language on TV, and then on social media, people start saying, wouldn't it be wonderful to see children in school learning Irish Sign Language? They can learn English, they can learn Irish, and hopefully in the future, they'll all have the opportunity to learn Irish Sign Language. So I think that gap that existed is not really the priority. It's about us saying that people need to see Irish Sign Language as a language linked to deaf culture, which they can acquire, and see it as a proper and beautiful language. And I think that narrows the gap. Whereas if we frame the deaf community as a group in society with a disability, then I don't think we can develop the way we want to. So the inclusiveness is really important. The respecting of the sign language and culture is really important. And the acceptance of difference. I think that's at the heart of seeing communities come together. And I think that applies right across the board, whether it's deaf hearing or whether it's different languages and cultures in any country. But that's my personal opinion on that. I haven't done research there.
whatever you are saying, I'm connecting with you because I think the same way.
No doubt.
So, everyone in Pakistan, please see and learn that we can create awareness, and in Ireland and Pakistan, both the cultures, we can learn something from each other.
And Ahmed, can I just say, everything I've learned, apart from my research, has been because of the generosity of the Irish deaf community. I wanted to learn. I want to be told if I'm doing something wrong. So when I enter a room and there are deaf people there, I see that I was in someone else's space. I was in someone else's house, and I was willing to learn, and I was willing to be wrong, and willing to be told, how you communicate, what's right, what's wrong. So that willingness to learn is something, but I have a huge debt of gratitude to all of my peers and colleagues who've helped me through this journey. So I wasn't the expert coming in and not the expert going out, but I certainly have enjoyed and enjoying the journey of learning, and it's because of the people who've helped me.
That's amazing. What is your aim? Future goals. What are your future goals? What is your aim? Everyone, you can tell in a very short way, in 2-3 lines, that what is your aim?
My aim is to make a difference. Okay, so whatever I do, whether it's small or big, to make a difference for somebody else is really important. I suppose one example of this, and it's very important because it's still with me. We have in 1916, when Ireland got its independence from the UK, Ireland has a constitution. Okay, it's written down as Ireland being an independent country, and that was written in English. And in 2016, celebrating 100 years of the constitution, that was translated into many languages. And the Trinity College and the Irish Deaf Society worked with myself to translate the constitution into Irish Sign Language. So it's only a piece of paper, but the significance and the meaning of translating that document into Irish Sign Language was very important. And one person said, who was deaf, said, it was the first time I felt like a proper Irish citizen, because they own something in their own language. So the task was normal, it was translation. But what it means is it gives a sense of identity, it gives a sense of inclusion and participation. That is very much why I do my work, is if someone can have more access, they have a better life, they feel equal in society, I can happily retire.
Okay, so that was wonderful, whatever you said. I'm so happy I interviewed you and I asked you so many questions. Now my questions are completed. There are some deaf person. If anyone wants to ask any question, we'll get them on board. So we are unlocking the comments. Only 1 or 2 deaf persons we will have on board for any questions. Okay? Anyone who wants to ask any question. Not too much questions, just 1 or 2 questions, as time is very short. Let's see, anyone wants to ask any question. Amir is saying that if anyone wants to ask any question, please let us know so we can have you on board. And if not, that's fine. Like, we have very short time. Okay, so no questions, like you have answered it so correctly that no one has any questions. So we are all done with this session, and I'm very thankful to you that I'm very happy you came here and you gave us your time. Now this interview is done. This session is done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Khuda
Bye
Hafiz.
bye.